don't wanna wake up and let my dreams die. This moment I'll make it mine. Don't tell me I'm wasting time. I'll show you what I'm made of and give my dreams life. I'll put it all on the line, just like I'm young, wild and
Hello, everybody. My name is Carter Hall. Welcome to another episode of the What Really Happened podcast. I'm here with Abby Valenzuela.
Yeah.
She's a CrossFit athlete at 806 CrossFit. She's got an amazing story. I'm ready to share it with her. So, Abby, how's it going? Thanks for coming on the podcast and making some time out.
Yeah. No, yes. I'm so happy that you chose me, honestly. And this is my first podcast. So this is like a trial run, and I'm super excited to share the story and really just talk about CrossFit. First rule of CrossFit is always talk about CrossFit. So I'm here
For
for
sure.
it.
That's yeah. CrossFit is an amazing thing. I've got into it. I wrestled in high school, but I didn't know anything about CrossFit until
Yeah.
like my senior towards the end of my senior year, and my brother
Really?
started coaching then, and so he talked so at the gym where we were at previously, Tornado Alley, he's like, they do community CrossFit workouts the first Saturday of every month, though. You should come try it, just have some fun.
Hmm.
I was petrified. My first actual legit CrossFit workout was Murph, so that was
Oh,
kind of
Carter.
so
Oh
yeah.
my
Yeah, so
God.
it's horrible, and I didn't know scaling was a thing. I thought you had to do everything verbatim.
Oh my
So
God.
I ran into it. He goes, my brother Brandon goes, "Hey, run to the 800-meter, mark. You don't run the full mile." I was like, "Okay, cool." And 3, 2, 1, go. I start running. I didn't know where the mark is. I didn't know what he was talking about. So I continued to run
Oh my
the full
God.
mile. I was just following everybody. I was like, "Okay, the marker's gonna come up soon, right?" So I come
Yes.
up and I'm like, "Where's the marker at?" I'm huffing and puffing, and I come back, and now you got like 300 this, 200 that, and 100 and another mile. I'm like,
What?
I hated it. As much as I hated it, I loved it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a love-hate thing, and then started doing it regularly full time in like 2018, 19. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just wanna ask for you, like, that's kind of my origin story for CrossFit,
Yes.
but for you, like, how would you get into CrossFit?
So I was first introduced to CrossFit when I was like 16. My parents are divorced, so like I lived in El Paso, and in the summers I'd come and be with my dad all summer. Growing up, I was always in sports. I was always athletic. Volleyball was like one of my main sports, and so I when I came over here in the summer to Perryton, I was like, I need to find something to keep me active, because they're over there training and doing 2-a-days, and I don't want them to take my spot.
Mhm.
So keep in mind, I'm like 16, so we're all pretty athletic at that age. We have enough energy to like eat food and work out right after and whatever. So my sister invited me. She's like, "Hey, so they started this new thing called CrossFit. I'm not too sure what it is. Do you want to go to a class and check it out?" I'm like, "Sure, let's go." So I
Mhm.
go. Like 10 minutes into the warm up, I'm like dripping. I'm so tired. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so then we start the workout, and then they literally just said, "Okay, it's a 10-minute AMRAP of like jump rope and power cleans." And I'm just like, "Oh, 10 minutes? That's it? Okay, cool." Died. Like, I
Yeah.
literally had to stop, like, by minute 5, and I was just catching my breath, and I just see, like, these people of, like, 50-year-olds from 40, like, just this broad age range of just they're just going at it, and I'm, like, 16 years old in athletics, do 2-a-days, and I'm just so tired, and I'm like, "Oh," that was very humbling, and so from that day forward, that's literally all I did summer. And when I went back to like my school, I was literally one of the fittest, like most in like I had the strongest endurance. My strength had gone up in just that like 2.5 summers of training. Like I was like the girls were dying, and I was like, I've been doing this all summer. And so it was just like from that moment, I was like, dang, this is like really legit. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
really like the programming. And so that's what I would do, that was like sophomore year. So when I, my junior year I did it, and then my senior year I graduated from Perryton, and I wasn't really taking it seriously. I'd like eat a bag of hot Cheetos and then
Mhm.
go to CrossFit. 18
Yeah.
years old, that really doesn't affect you much. I didn't know about nutrition. My parents, I live with my dad. My dad didn't do a lot of cooking. So we were always eating out like McDonald's and pizza. So I thought that was normal to me, honestly. And so fast forward, I really kind of just stopped, school life, things busy, I guess, gets in the way. Um, I wasn't really focused on it, and I fast forward to 2019, started working at Ammo National Bank, and I saw that they like had CrossFit during lunch, and I was like, dang, that's interesting, like for free. And they're like, yeah, you just go. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll try, I'll start doing it again. Well, I ended up burning my leg like
Oh,
on
wow.
Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
no.
fast forward, like what kind of getting on topic, but on Thanksgiving, I was carrying a pot of corn, and that like corn fell in my boot, and I literally got a first, second, and third-degree burn. Like it was
Oh,
huge.
no.
Have you ever seen like an Alsop's burrito?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so imagine an Alsop's burrito like that thick and that color on
Oh,
my ankle and my shin, like
oh,
that big.
wow.
It was insanely big. So that like took me out for like 3 months. So as of 2020, I have been consistently, after I got like released and everything, I've been consistently going to CrossFit. And, that has really been, just really focusing on it, really growing. And
Yeah.
at first, growing up in a sports world, in athletics and being in sports, you just have this competitive mindset like on your mind, right? So when you compare, you compete. When you compete, you compare. So I was just starting to have so much like body dysmorphia, I think that's what it's called, like always
Yeah.
comparing myself to other people in the gym. I was always competing. I was always being like, if I didn't get like top three, I didn't have a good workout, or I'm not good, or just like if I don't look like that, like I'm not, I wasn't really
Yeah.
embracing my journey. I was more frustrated in my journey, right? So it was based off how I did my performance is is how I like if I congratulated myself for even showing up or not. So it was just like a lot of like I didn't really have enough grace for myself, or really just a lot of self-love conflicting. And
Yeah.
so that was just that was a really rough season. And for me, you know, once I started, I was going to church, and I was like telling God, like, God, like I just need to learn like a healthy mindset, a healthy way of thinking, just outside of not just CrossFit, but in life, because it's like when you do grow up in a sports world and in athletics, and you're just in sports all the time, you automatically create this behavior pattern of you have to compete, like you have to be the best, right? That's what we do. And
Mhm.
so I take that same mentality and I put it into CrossFit. And it was just very like, toxic and toxic, and like
Yeah.
showing up was just like I would get so anxious before a workout because it's like I was just so based off performance and how I did. And so I've really like God has really had to show me how to one have grace for myself. Like we have to also listen to our bodies. Our bodies aren't going to feel 100% a lot of the times, right?
Mm.
So you should compete very rarely, as far
Yeah.
as like, like even in the NFL, they play once a week. That's when they give their 100%, but they're not going to give their 100% in the practice, or even like a basketball team or a
Yeah.
high school game, right? Like you only compete once a week, and that's really where you give it your all. But practice is more so of like, you're really just training, you're moving, you're learning skills, you're learning drills,
Mhm.
right? So that's really where I had to learn, like, oh, that's not healthy. Let's not do that. And two, um, one of the biggest things that was my revelation was one time our pastor was preaching on this sermon, and how God was like his hype, like God was his own hype man. And there's this verse in the Bible where, God is talking about, he created stuff and he said it was good. So it took him 7 days to complete right? Creation.
Yeah.
But each day, even though it wasn't complete yet, each day he kept telling himself, it is good. It is good. And it's good. And I think a lot of times what happens when we do start this like fitness journey and like health journey, since we're not where we want to be, we don't really embrace like how far we are or how far we come or like where we are now, like even just showing up to the gym, like doing the hard things, right? Because it is hard to like live a life with disease and being unhealthy. That's hard. That's taxing. It takes a lot, but it is also hard to be disciplined. It also
It's
takes
different.
work to like, you know what I mean? So they're both
Yeah.
hard. It's just choosing the better hard. And
Yeah.
so in that revelation, like with God, it's like like even God was telling himself like it is good throughout the journey, throughout the completion. I should be the same way with myself in this fitness journey, right? Like I may not be where I want to, but like it is good. Like it is good. It is done. And
Yeah.
so that's really helped me embrace like my CrossFit journey and really like congratulating me of how far I've come. Because when I first started, I was like so unhealthy, so unhealthy. And like
Mhm.
now it's like, you still learn. You still, I'm like, okay, well, that hasn't really helped me very much. So let me try this. So it's just a lot of, we're all created differently. What works for them may not work for me. I know some people that they do calorie deficient and it's just like, that's not my thing. I don't do that. I gotta have breakfast. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like I can't skip breakfast. But I think it's been awesome, like the way I've just matured mentally, really, and emotionally in this CrossFit journey, not just physically, because I'm like, I never thought I could do a pull-up, let alone walk on my hands. And
Yeah.
so like now seeing that I could do that, it's awesome. But I think what's been more like even like more honestly just a blessing has been just like my mental and emotional growth in CrossFit. So yeah, that's
Well,
a long story short about it.
that's just an amazing story, Abby. I mean, the whole thing is sitting here listening to it. I'm like starstruck by it all because like you had so many, like you said, so much information just saying stuff like you said, like competition, like competing, like going into like workouts where you
Yeah.
feel like you're having to compete. I'm like I said, I wrestled in high school, so
Mhm.
like you said, I'm very much a competitive person too. Where like
Yeah.
you have a tournament one day, like on Tuesday, and by Friday you have another dual meet, against another school.
Right.
So it's like the volume is always high and it's always consistent.
Hmm.
So I kind of carried that into CrossFit whenever I first started. So I feel like, oh my God, I have to win this workout, even though realistically that's not gonna
Yes.
happen. So walking into
Yes.
it, so and I'm still like, and I even after a while, I'm like, and this guy got 225 in this one movement for this 21, like one movement, and I got 135. I'm like, why am I
Okay.
like, what's
Then I
going
did
on?
good. Yeah. You're
Should I say
right.
that
No.
again?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
was like, so then you tell yourself, like, because you did that, okay, you did good. Even if you didn't do that, you still did
yeah,
good, right? So
yeah.
it's like,
So
no.
that's why I kind of told myself into it. I was like, okay, listen, everybody's not cookie cutter. Everybody's got their own.
Hmm.
It's like a marathon type of way. It's like,
Right.
like even though I'm this part of my journey, this person might be here. So it's like it's all about
Mhm.
progress. You got to take a step back and be realistic. It's like Monday I
Right.
did good, but Wednesday I'm like, oh God, I'm here, but like I'm kind of going through the motions. But Friday I may
Right.
like have like a par. I may be at a par, with my workout. So it's like all about
Hmm.
that. So it's like okay, I'm okay with that workout. I could do better, but I wasn't horrible kind of thing. So it's all about that
Hmm.
mindset. It's like, okay, like getting the right stuff into it's like I said,
Yeah.
when I was in high school wrestling, like I was a heavyweight wrestler and I would
Yeah.
go eat, I would make, I didn't know a whole lot about nutrition in high school when I was wrestling. I was a varsity wrestler. I can go eat
Mhm.
Burger King for lunch one day and go to practice and go burn that
Yes.
stuff up and I'm still good.
Literally right after. Yeah.
So like now it's like, holy crap, that was awful. Like you're just putting crappy gas into a car, like really beautiful,
Yeah.
nice car. It's like,
Oh,
and
I
it's
love
like,
it.
so it's like,
Yes.
oh my God, I gotta like get better at this, all the way around, working out and putting it all
Mhm.
together, putting all the puzzle pieces together. That's what I think it's
Yeah.
all about. I'm like, when I started doing CrossFit fully, I'm like, okay, this is a different stuff I need to go into.
Yes. Yes. No, I love that. And I think it is true because like where I went to school, it's like we would have like tournaments and then in between tournaments they'd be like, okay, y'all can go to the snack bar. And in the snack bar you just see like nachos and hot dogs and hamburgers and hot Cheetos. And I mean I
Yeah.
was eating all of it. And it's just like well, no wonder we would suck our second game. It's just like our bodies is just was fed a bunch of crap, so we don't have like the energy and the fuel that we need. You know what I mean, to keep
For sure.
going and performing and stuff. But that's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing you touched on too, I kind of want to talk about if you were interested, is that you mentioned earlier how about your like faith in God and working out or
Mhm.
anything like that. So how are you able to like experience like how are you able to like put so much faith, like your faith with God and your walk with God and anything? Because I'm Christian and Catholic as well, but you
Mhm.
said you were Christian and putting your faith in
Yeah,
anything.
Christian. Yeah.
So how are you able to put like two and two with CrossFit and your faith together?
Honestly, it's just like a little bit of everything. So my main thing, there's like this verse that says, train yourself up as an athlete.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of verses in like Timothy that it talks about like, training and discipline and the rewards of it. And so um when how I earlier how we talked about like, there are two hearts. And for me, it's like, it is hard to wake up at 5 in the morning, but it's also hard to snooze and like be running late to work, right?
Yeah,
They're both
most
hard.
definitely. Yeah.
Right. So like when I think about, like our path with like it is hard to work out, but it's also hard to live a lifestyle that is not, it may be beneficial for you young, but like 30 years down the road, those are seeds that you sowed into your health and they're gonna reap, right? They're gonna
Yeah.
like you're gonna reap what you sow. So they're gonna show up with diseases, they're gonna show up with illness. You're not gonna be able to squat, but not being able to squat should be the reason
Yeah.
why you should come to CrossFit.
Most
And
definitely,
so
yeah.
and with Christ is has always been like, it's hard to be a follower of Christ. It is because we're not like we that doesn't mean we don't avoid trials. That doesn't mean we don't avoid problems. That doesn't mean storms and winds and things aren't gonna come in our life, but it's also hard to live a life without Christ too. And so for me, like showing up at the gym really like he really just trains me up into an athlete, just like how the Bible says like train
Mhm.
yourself up as an athlete, meaning an athlete is disciplined, an athlete is willing to get uncomfortable, right? Because a lot of people aren't really willing to get into that uncomfortable state, right? Like pain,
Yeah.
for me, what I think about pain is like, you broke your leg, family member, things like that, that's pain. But being under like being fatigued and
Mhm.
that mental state when you get on the assault bike and you're just
Oh,
like, oh
yeah.
my gosh, I can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's uncomfortability. And I think a lot of times, people kind of confuse the two. And so for me, like God has really shown me how to get into that uncomfortable state and stay in that uncomfortable state, right? So really like CrossFit really isn't just, we don't just prepare you for like the unknown and like the physical, but just for me, God has used that to also prepare me in the unknown mentally, right? So like in life, we are going to experience some situations, uncomfortable circumstances, but that's really where we grow our mental toughness. And so that's where, God really shows me. And so not only that, but it's also easy to stay motivated. It's easy,
Mhm.
like motivation to me is that's what gets you going. When you think about an idea, your endorphins are running like it's already happened. You feel that fire, you feel that fuel, but discipline is what keeps you going. So motivation gets like starts you, right? But
Mhm.
discipline is what's going to keep you there. And in our walk with Christ, like it's you're not always going to feel motivated to walk with Christ. You're always not going to feel motivated to read your word. You're always not going to be motivated to do the things that He has called you and commanded you to do. It's really discipline that keeps you going, right? So, discipline is what keeps you growing, and that's really how you grow. And so, for me, Christ has really grown my spiritual, my mental, of like being able to do hard things, not just physically, but mentally. And so that's really been my biggest thing. And also like self love, because how we talked about
Mhm.
earlier is that, you grow up as an athlete And so you have that same competitive
Yeah.
mindset, and it's like you have to remove that, and you really have to, like God says, you really have to just run your own race. And that's something I have to constantly tell myself is like, Abby, run your own race, and congratulate yourself on the race. But you know what? Training yourself as an athlete, one of the things that God has shown me is that sometimes it is okay to like slow down, like let
Yeah.
go of the bar, get off the bike, catch your breath, recover, regain yourself, but get back on the bike,
For
right?
sure.
Get
Yeah.
back on the bar, like get back into the workout. Don't stop, just recover and then get back on. So just really like that. And just, being a coach too, he's also like, I'm also a coach for A and B Fit at my job.
Mhm.
And so that has also been a really big ministry, which is actually like a really awesome testimony, because the beginning of January, our church, we went on this fast. And like during my fast, I was at CrossFit 806, and like God just like dropped it in my spirit, and he just said, I'm fixing to open a door for you, you know that has to do with health and training for the bank. I was like, God, I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I like that idea, and I'm rocking with it. I submit to
Yeah.
it, and I position myself for that blessing. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm ready whenever you say I'm ready. So in
Mhm.
that, we finished our our 21 days, or 21 days of fasting, and then
Okay.
Kyle calls me into the office, and he's like, hey, so I'm thinking about, we're expanding, BSA and A and B, and we're just wanting more coaches, and we just wanted to see if you would be like the coach for the A and B fit classes. And like,
Wow.
I'm like, Lord, I knew you told me this, and it was just like, wow, it was just like so awesome how everything just fits so perfectly. And so that has been a blessing on its own, of just seeing other people's journeys, right? Seeing other
Mhm.
people's testimonies, and how they share the testimonies, and how we really are on our own journey in fitness and health and in CrossFit. And it's like how I always say, like, everybody can CrossFit, but not everybody CrossFit's the same. Just like
Yeah.
our path with God, we're all on our own path with God. Some are just getting started, some have been started, some are still figuring out the path.
Yeah, most
But
definitely.
so that's really been how I just tie in God into this whole CrossFit journey stuff.
Well, that's
But
really
yeah.
amazing. This hearing that story, like that testimony is really awesome because you said you're hearing God come to you and said like he's gonna make some change in your life for the better. And then Kyle talks to you like, hey, we're thinking about expanding. Like
Yes,
that's
it
such a
was
cool thing.
crazy. It
That's
was
so
so
cool.
awesome. And I literally, because I was telling Jordan, even way before it happened, I was like, so I need to tell you something, but I'm just going to tell you because, like I said, a lot of times when we hear God, sometimes it'll be like, I think that's from God. I don't know. So you start asking for confirmation, like, God, if this
Mhm.
is you, show me. We're learning the voice of God. And so I told Jordan, I was like, I was in the restroom, and I told him, I was like, God told me that he was gonna open a door for me for the bank, and where I'm gonna be like something with health and like fitness. And he's just like, really? He's just like, okay. And I was like, yeah, but like I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I told him I'm gonna position myself. And then fast forward, I'm like, remember, I
Yeah.
told you. And so it was just, he was
Yeah.
just my witness to like God's goodness in that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's so awesome. That's awesome to have that person with you too, like that person to like to be a witness to like what's going on too, like see all the success coming to fruition. That's just an amazing thing
Hmm.
too. Sharing that journey with someone else. And
Yeah.
hearing God's voice. I was like, right when I started CrossFit full time, I'm pretty sure like I heard God's voice at least once or twice, like too. I'm
Yeah.
I went through the same thing. Like, is that like I'm at least I'm not the only one who thought like say for sure
Yeah.
and then next thing I know I'm
It's
doing
like,
CrossFit full time.
and it's something that you kind of just, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, that was definitely like
Yeah.
that. I felt that in my spirit, that was from God. And sometimes I'm like, God, was that you? if it's so like, let me see it through. And he does. He's so faithful. He's so awesome. But no, yeah, I totally feel you on that.
Most definitely. But yeah, it's such a cool thing. I think that's such a cool thing, overall. But I was gonna ask you too. Um, what about the like? How can I word this? I'm sorry. I had it in my
Yeah.
head worded right, but I was gonna ask like, what about the fitness community do you like overall? Like, is there something in particular you like about the overall community of fitness or CrossFit
Community.
community that you like the most?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's so I've worked out by myself,
Mm,
and it's nothing like having a group setting,
yeah,
honestly. And I love it that these people become like more than just your CrossFit 806
yeah,
class. It comes more than just a class. It's like, you know, start seeing them outside of CrossFit, right? And like they become like family, and you see
yeah,
them on, you become friends with them on Facebook, and you do. And I love that as far as our box, like we do stuff
mm,
outside of CrossFit. We have events, so we have girls' night and we have guys' night, and it just
yeah,
really just becomes a family. Like it's more than just a group class. It's more so
mhm,
like we do become a family, and we see. And I think it's awesome because we get to see each other's progress, right? Because I've been
yeah,
with people who've been CrossFitting. Like there's this girl, her name's Ashley. I don't know if you met her. Do you know Cody?
yeah, Cody, yeah,
So his sister, she goes with me in the morning. They
really.
literally look like twins. And I've been with her. She's been doing CrossFit just as long as I have, like about 10
Oh,
years. And
mhm.
so it's awesome to see, like, remember when we first started doing CrossFit, like we couldn't do a pull up and like, now look at us. So it's like you get to see other people's CrossFit journey. You get to be with them, you get to celebrate with them. And I think that for me is like, we all need community. And even if you think you don't need it, you do. We
Yeah,
all need people, you know.
for sure.
Like I said, it's hard to have relationships, but it's also hard to be alone and
Yeah,
isolated. So now community is better. And so I think being in the same community, and not only that, but the same mindsets, like we are all of us are seeking for health and for fitness and for wellness is even much more like impactful. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that would really be mine.
yeah. I agree with you because I think like it feels like this is such like a great thing, like being so sociable with the community, like being around like you're such a great people who are around each other for great things like fitness, but we're
Hmm.
also can go like you said, girls' night or guys' night. It's we're doing something not just in the gym, we're seeing each other's
Hmm.
progress, like you said, but like we're involved in the community on our own, like with each other. We're doing things. I feel like that's just an amazing thing to do. It's like
Yeah.
it's real easy just to go to class, like okay, I did a workout. I'm going home, guys. See y'all later. And then, but like, oh yeah, this weekend we're doing. There's a competition, the 806 Classic, whatever. We're
Hmm.
doing that as a group. We're not just watching competitors compete. We're watching our friends compete. That's why I feel like, at least we're
Right.
watching. It feels like that's
Right.
what we want the best for everybody, obviously. So like,
Right.
we're doing amazing things. So, like, to kind of talk about the 806 Classic. You said off air you're competing in this, right? You're competing in the 806
Yes.
Classic.
Week. Yes.
So what are you like?
So
What are you most excited about for that competition?
I am really excited. One, I get to do it with my boyfriend. So I actually got him into this CrossFit group that we got going on. And I I mean, I'm not really looking for a PR. I think I'm just excited for the fellowship, really.
Yeah,
That's always fun to me. There's gonna be food trucks, so you already know I'm excited for
yeah.
the food. Faves, I haven't tried faves, so I heard
Oh yeah.
faves is gonna be there, so I'm super excited to try that. But I think what I'm most excited is just really the people. And I
Yeah.
honestly I know there's gonna be people there who have been working on muscle ups, and this is gonna be the first time. Like, I really hope I get it and things like, or like, or their first pull up. Maybe they haven't been able to do a pull up or a chest to bar. And so I'm really excited to see like other people, challenge each other people, but also like the growth that they're gonna have out of this. So that's yeah, that's my biggest thing. Mhm.
That's so cool. I mean, I can't wait to watch y'all compete. Like, I'm not competing, but
Yes.
I'm so excited for y'all to be like, well, except just for those reasons, just like do something that you maybe like push yourself like to a level that you probably necessarily didn't know you had. Just another gear. You're like, wow, that's wasn't as bad as I thought. And like, oh wow, I
Mhm.
did this. Or whatever X Y Z. Like you did all these different things you didn't know you had it in you, and you came out and did it in front of all these people who are
Right.
cheering you on, supporting you, doing all these amazing things, which is pretty cool. I can't wait to watch y'all.
Yes, it's gonna be so fun. So fun. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like a couple more questions before you head on out,
Yeah.
but so I can't thank you for your time, Abby. But I just want to ask, like, where would you like to see CrossFit grow or tap into as a whole that you haven't seen it grow into yet?
Uh, wait, explain that question.
So like as far as like CrossFit, like you said, we talk about like community and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like what's like with CrossFit as a whole, like a sport, where would you like to see
Mhm.
it like go into? Like, is there any other certain areas like you're like, okay, this would be cool area, like that they really
To
necessarily
like,
talk? Go ahead.
like to do like how far I want to go with it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, like
what different areas like do you like as a whole, like or CrossFit as a whole? I guess that's what I say.
yeah. So one. Let me see. How did I say this? As far as how far, like me personally, like as a whole, and how far I want to go. I mean, I don't think I'll ever make it to the CrossFit Games. I probably could.
No, I'm not
If I
either. So
really devoted every single soul of my body and just trained, and I don't want to say can't because there's really little things we can't do in this world. If you really put your mind on something, you can do it. But that's not what I'm trying to do. It's more so
Mhm.
I just, I think for me, my overall
Copy.
goal is to be like, God willing, 80 years old and still kicking butt in class and,
Yeah,
keeping up as much as I can, and just being able to not, honestly, is to not end up in a senior village or whatever they're called.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I got you.
Uh, And so, I mean, as a whole, I think like as a brand and as a community, like overall, I think CrossFit has done a really good job of one teaching of what it is and what it means at the end of the day, and like what it stands for as far as like health and community and family and stuff, and its purpose and its overall goal. People are still going to have their own perception and percent of like the butterfly pull-ups, or just we all
Yeah,
just can make a first impression without actually looking deep in it. It's in us to do that as people. But as far as, I mean, I think CrossFit has done a great job of introducing and teaching it about what it is and what it stands for. And for me, it really is that, is to just be 80 and 80, 70 and still be able to move and run and push and pull and get my heart rate up and slow it back down and run and just use these legs and just really take care of the temple of God. So
most definitely. Yeah, that's what I'm kind
mhm,
of looking forward to. Is like having a great healthy life. Just like you said, 70s, 80s,
right,
and just be able to move and do great things. As long as I can,
right.
for sure. So kind of a last question. Kind of something kind of fun, I guess. So who's been like you talk about faith and like that, but did you have anybody who was like you've been your biggest source of inspiration, like your rock, your motivation, anything like that?
Well, oh man, I think that's a great question. Honestly, I would say my sister Bianca. She's the one, she's the
Mhm,
one that invited me to CrossFit. And so she's the one that really just stayed and has been like consistent in it. She's kind of taken a shift
mhm,
in her fitness journey. She does more of like um uh what is it, like physique, more just like bodybuilding kind of movements now, which is awesome. That's great for her. But she really just has been my inspiration because I've seen her do things and just grow in her fitness journey. Especially, she's a mom,
mhm,
and she would coach, and she still make time for the gym, and just making sure like the way that she was so
mhm,
disciplined and driven, and like this fire that she has in her to be better, right? To be on her own journey and be better than yesterday and really to like try new things. Like she's so awesome. Like she'll like sign up for random things that she's like, you know what? I've never tried this and I want to try this. Like she signed up for a marathon, she's never done one, but she just
Wow.
does stuff, like bodybuilding. She's like, I think I'll change this. And so she's just really open to like trying new things, maybe like uncomfortable things in fitness to kind of see like to challenge
Right.
yourself. But it's just been she's literally like my motivation when it comes to fitness and health. She knows so much, and I've just watched her grow. And one of the best moments I have about her is when she was doing this CrossFit competition, when Rich Froning comes, and it
Oh yeah.
used to be at a Kids Inc. Kind of by, I think, is it Hillside and 45th?
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you. It's like this like Coliseum. I don't know. It's this big gym. It's not like, because they had
Yeah.
changed it to the A and B, but that's where they would have it. And so they had to do rope climbs, but they had to do legless rope climbs for a little bit before they could actually climb the rope, because the rope was like hanging off the ground, probably like by, I would say, like 5 feet off the ground.
Oh
So
wow.
she really had to like kind of pull herself leglessly first, like without her legs,
Yeah.
before she
Wow.
got on the like completely on the rope and stuff. So when she'd get on the rope, she'd do two pulls and she couldn't get on. She'd try again, she'd do two pulls and get on. And it's like everybody was just like watching her, like rooting for her and cheering her, and she'd try and try again. And she like would fail and slip off, and she was getting so frustrated, and she was, I could tell she was getting discouraged, and she just wanted, I could tell like she really just really, really wanted it. And so we're like yelling and screaming, and the coach is giving her tips. And so literally, I think there was probably like a minute left, 60
Wow.
seconds, right? And so she jumps, and we're like yelling, like, pull, pull, pull. And so she swings, she gets one arm. She swings, gets another arm. And I could tell she's fixing to be like, I don't think I can do it. We're like, come on. We're like, it's so loud in there. Everybody's looking at her. And we're like, you can do it, you can do it. And she swings herself one more time. She gets on the rope. She finally was able to get on the rope, climb
Wow.
all the way to the top. And we actually have that, like, we actually took a picture, like somebody was able to take a picture of it, and you could just see like the smile of her face of like all the hard work and just like the feeling of accomplishing something you thought you couldn't. Just like it was just so emotional, and it's
Yeah.
she's just a rock star, and I just love her so much. But
Wow.
I would say my big sister.
Oh, that's such an amazing
Yeah.
story. That's so cool hearing
Mhm.
that, like be able to have that, like you said, people around you cheering you on and that big of a
Mhm.
moment, with a little time to go.
Yes.
That's such an amazing thing, It's like you said it too, like hard work. It really pays off. I think I'm a big believer in that. It's like if you just keep working, keep
Yeah.
grinding, you'll get it. You'll see.
HWPO.
Yeah, for sure. Matt Fraser
Mhm.
shout out.
Yes.
So yeah, so definitely I'm a big believer in all that. So just working hard, grinding, doing your thing. And Abby, you have such an amazing story, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and telling it and just
Oh,
sharing
thank you
it.
so much.
Yeah. So is there anything you like to say before you head on out of here?
And not really. I mean, thank y'all for watching and hearing our stories, a little bit of Carter's, a little bit of mine. And if you're interested in doing CrossFit, we gotta tell them to pull up at 8:06. That's
Most
where it's
definitely.
at, and just find a CrossFit gym and honestly just get started. It
Yeah.
is not as scary as you think it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
like how that statement that I wouldn't say it's cliche, but it's like true. It's like it doesn't get easier, you just get better,
Yeah.
like just with anything. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
know how scared I was when I first worked out at 8:06, or just in general after if I was like after time off my first workout back, it's always like the most like nerve-wracking, it's like, "Oh my God,
yes,
I can do this." I am like you're so in your head, and like after a
mhm,
while you're like, "Okay, it's not that bad." You find your movement after a few months,
right,
or like a month or two. I'm like, "Okay, why was I nervous for it? Why was I scared for it?" But
yeah. And
yeah.
it's not like people are just watching, like I think a lot of things is like it's because there's like I'm just not there yet, and I'm not there yet, and it's just like, girl, if I was I was like, the Lord doesn't expect me to be completely and whole before I come to him. He's just like, come just as you are. Just
Yeah.
like that in CrossFit. Just come as you are. Like, we will meet
Yeah.
you where you're at. And the coaches at 806, like, my biggest thing is like, we're not going to put you in a position to fail. Like, we're
No.
not,
No.
we want you to have the most important thing is we want you to have fun and be healthy, be safe, but have fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really
Yeah.
it. That I would say.
For sure. That's what I just being around those people. They want the best for you. Like you're not gonna make you. You're not. They don't expect. They want. They want you to do
You
great.
better
They're
walk
not.
on your hands and then lift 300 pounds, or else you can't be here.
No,
You
we're
can't join
not.
the club.
No, they don't want. They don't want you to be CrossFit Games champ already when you walk in. Just
Mhm.
come. They just want you
Yeah.
to, no matter where you're at in your fitness range, come on. Let's have fun.
Right. But
Well,
yeah.
Abby, thank you so much for your time, and can't
Yes,
wait
thank you.
for all the 806 Classic, and love to have you
Yes,
on. Yeah,
it'll
yeah,
be fun.
most definitely. I love to have you on again, and thank you, and for great rest of your.
Yes.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Carter.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks to everybody watching and listening, and have a great weekend. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.